With over 400 celebrity interviews and tons of pop culture nerdiness, Too Opinionated is a safe haven for your inner geek. Find us at meistercon.com or on YouTube under MeisterCon Pod. And please subscribe. It would really help us out. Thanks, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. So excited today, joined by somebody that I've been chasing for a while. So actress Sara Tomko is with me. Welcome, Sara.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for having me.
I've just been following you around.
I was trying so hard to get to you. I really was. It just got really busy at the end of shooting season 3. And I just thought, probably at this point, we should just wait till it's done. And then I can give you the full scoop.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Which was our plan all along, right? That was our plan.
I had Meredith on. We were talking about her before we got on camera.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I was like, I think Sara might be avoiding me. And she's like, no, she's not. She said, I'm going to text her right now.
She would know how busy I was. No, I wasn't avoiding you at all.
She defended you.
I kept you in the back of my mind and in my heart. I was like, I'm going to get to you eventually.
Yeah, she defended you. She's like, she wouldn't.
Thank you. Well, she would, because she's my best friend, and that's what we do. We defend each other.
Yep. I know. She invited me to run the New York Marathon with her.
Oh my God.
I don't know about that.
No,
I don't know. I mean, I'm running, I'll do 30, 35 miles a week, something like that.
Yeah.
But marathon's a different animal.
No, I understand. I'm not a runner. I think runners are incredible species of people. So I commend you for any running you do out there.
It beats you down.
Especially, I've heard only amazing stories about the New York Marathon. So I'm excited that she's partaking. It's going to be
she's the runner, and Alice is like the CrossFit badass.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which I couldn't keep up with that either. But I told Meredith I would like to work out one time with Alice just to learn some stuff, because I've watched some videos.
Oh, she knows what she's doing. She's a great teacher. She's so calm and patient and is so good at explaining what you need to do when you need to do it. And I think you'd have a lot of fun working out with her. I haven't had the pleasure yet, but I would definitely work out with Alice if she asked me to.
I don't know if fun would be the right word.
Right.
But if I did it, we'd have to tape it, because it would be.
You'd have to. Yeah.
It's a life goal.
I'm proud of you, though.
I really liked her character arc this season because she's so funny. I mean, she is hilarious, but she kind of went through some stuff this year, and I thought she got to act a little more outside of the comedy this year, and I thought she was great.
Yeah, I think that's been really wonderful for our entire cast, being able to explore their storylines and get to know them a little bit more as these people of patience that are trying to figure out who they are. So it's been really wonderful to watch everybody sort of bloom. And Alice, speaking of bloom, that's her last name, Darcy Bloom. That's what she does, She blooms.
It's such a great show. It started, and I'm sure I was like most people, we thought it was a Alan project, and we're like, we love Alan. We got to watch that. But it's actually kind of a sneaky ensemble type of show. The cast is so great, and as it goes along, it just keeps fleshing out the town and the characters. I mean, it's really surprisingly really good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I was also just as surprised and intrigued when I first got to read the audition material. And, I was a late bloomer for sci-fi content. I mean, I loved things like Star Wars. Who doesn't? It's just so fun. But I wasn't a sci-fi watcher.
Me neither.
Yeah, I just never found anything other than maybe a movie or two that I really got into. And and then the partner I was with at the time was a Battlestar Galactica
Oh,
fan.
that's a great show, old and new.
And yeah, and he watched you know, from beginning, you know, he was watching it for the third time in a row from beginning to end. And I finally caught some while I was walking through the living room. And
Mhm.
I was like, what is this? And I was so intrigued. And I fell in love with that show. And that was the first time that I realized um, you know, I think sci-fi kind of gets a bad rap sometimes as a
Yeah,
genre. I think it doesn't get respected as much because some people laugh at it or say it's cheesy or, you know,
yeah.
not, you know, not real enough because it's so fantastical. But but it's not. It's, I mean, how, yes, it's in a fantasy genre, but like, how do you know it's fantastical? It could be real. It could happen. We could
You
have
never
aliens
know.
walking among us, you know? And I think no matter what, as long as the story's good, then it doesn't matter what genre it's in, as long as you
Yeah,
care about the characters. And that was the first time I had that experience. And then I became very, you know, fortunate to get to read this audition material and audition for this show. And I felt that way when I read the script. This is a show that has heart and is
yeah,
charm. And it's not just you know, it's not just a sci-fi comedy. There's so much more here, and that's a lot in part to Chris Sheridan's writing. But now more so, as you've seen in 2 seasons worth, that's a lot in part to our chemistry as a cast too.
yeah,
So I keep holding out hope that every year we get more followers and more people, because I think it's easy to go, sci-fi, no. But if you were to just give it one shot, I think you'd be surprised, just like we were
yeah.
saying, like surprised
Absolutely.
and delightfully intrigued, and you're like, what? You know,
Really well
it's
written and
so
well acted.
yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's so good. And yet the nice thing with sci-fi is when you get that group of followers, they're very loyal.
Yes. Yes. I love the fans. I
Yeah.
love the sci-fi fans. Um, I even just in general, sci-fi and the fantasy genre, when I was on Once Upon a Time, we had also really loyal fans. I think they
Yeah.
are the most loyal fans out there, because they really believe in the material and they really believe in these worlds and they really believe in us. And it's so, so motivational knowing that no matter what happens with the show, we have a group of people, a really wonderful majority of sci-fi fans that love it. And
Yeah.
that makes me happy, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Have you got to do a convention yet?
We got to do New York Comic Con in
Nice.
October. I want to say it was October 2019 question
That's
mark.
probably right. Right before the pandemic hit.
Right before, yeah, because it was right before the pandemic and we had just um found out we were going to get a season 1.
Yeah.
And so we went up and started shooting that November. And then of course we got shut down March
Mhm.
13th, Friday the 13th, 2020. We should have known it was Friday the 13th. But we were at New York Comic Con, which was our first con, and then we got to do the big San Diego Comic Con last year.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was very exciting. I honestly didn't even get to enjoy it as much as I would have liked because I had to be in and out. But we were in a different section than like the general convention, so I didn't get to like walk the main floor, but just the energy of being there was incredible. It
Yeah,
was
and
so much fun.
99% of the people are great.
Oh my
You know,
gosh.
occasionally you'll get a dud in there, but most of the people you run into fan wise, they're terrific.
Yeah, my husband and I just recently went to a Monster Palooza in LA, and
Nice.
it was our first time, and we're big monster murder mystery
Yeah.
Halloween people, okay? So
Yeah.
we are into that vibe. And so we had a friend who's a creature actor. His name's Kevin Cappy. He just played the mother villain in Smile, and he's
Oh,
like really sort of taking off. And
yeah. It's
and
a creepy
so we,
movie.
yeah, that was fun. And he went to, he was going to Monster Palooza to play the Reverend from Poltergeist 2.
Oh yeah.
So
Nice.
his partner, who's also a makeup designer, her name's Anna, she did his makeup and we went to support them, but we were
I mean, speaking of creepy,
amazed. We
that's a
were like,
very creepy
it is
character.
so much fun to go to a Monster Palooza. And everyone was so great. And I just thought, man, next year I want to get dressed up. Like I wasn't prepared. I didn't know what to expect. We ended up,
What would be your monster if you dressed up?
oh, oh gosh. Okay. I really love playing male characters when I do like
Oh yeah.
Halloween.
Yeah.
I love to sort of explore the other half, how the other half lives. So I feel like I would do some sort of male monster. Maybe the creature. Maybe I could go full on creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh
How
no,
cool
I'm
would
in.
that be?
If you want to do that, I'm in for that. That's awesome.
I'd probably get so sweaty in whatever costume I finally had, but I just think that would be so fun, sort of like I could pretend I was swimming through the crowd.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
nobody'd know who you were,
Right.
which
That's
would be
true.
pretty great.
Maybe I could have like a little window in his throat, in the
You
creature's
peek.
throat
Oh,
where
I
I could
like
just
that. I like
where
that a
his
lot.
head's like up here and I could be
Mhm.
like, "It's me. Okay, bye."
My son who does the editing for the podcast, he's a librarian during the
Mhm.
day, but he's a children's librarian, so he always has to put the costumes on, and he's a little bit claustrophobic, so he struggles with it, but he does it. But he said he's like, Dad, he's like, they put that head on you of whatever it is, it's like 100 pounds and
Yes.
can't
Oh, we
breathe in
gotta, I
there.
mean, let's give it up to all the mascots in the world, right? The
Yeah.
mascots that have to jump around in
Oh
that
my gosh.
hot costume and have a very heavy mask on.
Yeah.
I commend you all. Honestly, it was
You
so
know the
much fun.
ones that I'm really like I have to give it up for is the high school mascots because you
Yes.
know that it might be decades before they replace that costume. And you know
You're
how
right.
sweaty everybody is in
And
that. It
how
has
and
to be.
how like how does it really get washed? Let's be honest.
There's no
Like
way.
I think they must at least tumble it through the dryer to like maybe kill any bacteria,
I
but I
mean,
don't think that thing ever gets washed.
spray it with
You-
Lysol on the inside, maybe.
That's right. Oh, that's totally what it is. It's Lysol. Oh, it's like a
Has to be.
Lysol bath.
I got
Oh
back.
man.
We were at Sundance in 2020. So it's end of February. We're at Sundance, and we're hearing these rumblings of this
About
virus, right? And
yes.
we're like, I
Yes.
don't know what the heck that is, but you start getting nervous. Like you get on an elevator and somebody's coughing, you get nervous, but you don't really know what's going on yet. And then as soon as we got back, like the next few days, they shut everything down. Terrible. Well,
It was
actually,
wild.
the first couple of weeks was kind of nice.
Oh,
Just
actually, to
initial.
be fair, yeah, to be fair, my husband and I, we were not married at the time. We were still boyfriend, girlfriend. We weren't even engaged yet. And we had a blast.
Yeah.
We turned the living room into a giant sleepover den. We basically just were like, anything that we can do to only roll out, get the coffee and food and roll back into bed
Right.
is all we need. And we did that for, I don't know, a solid, however, 10 months. Actually, we were home March, April, May, June, July, August. So we were home about 6 months before I had to go back and shoot the end of season 1 in a COVID protocol, like hazmat suit, basically. Honestly, it was so wild to go back. We had to quarantine in Vancouver at the level in Vancouver, and this apartment where a few of us were like, all we could do was like hang out our balcony and like wave at each other, like Meredith was right above me,
Mm-hmm.
and we kept saying, Mary and I kept saying, why did we not like build a ladder? Like we could have probably gotten away with hanging out with one another because she was right above me. And then I think Corey was below and Levi was down there. And so we would, every once in a while, we would come out and we'd say hi to each other. It was such a crazy time. And then,
Yeah.
to go from shooting this first season of a show that's already so exciting, and now the world is stopping and you're not even sure if you're going to finish it.
That's
when we
right.
had finally gotten there, it was like, we just want to finish it. So we were so grateful just to get to the finish line.
Yeah.
That first season is a feat all its own. And then the second season was basically a long 8 month stint of doing COVID protocol shooting that was very, unfamiliar for a lot of shows, including ours. And we were testing 3 times a week, and we couldn't talk to the
Yeah.
crew, and we couldn't mingle with each other. We weren't allowed to have cast parties or
That
dinners.
sucks.
It was just like, go to work, see each other,
Go
hug,
home.
and go home. Like it was very.
Were you coming in and like taking everything off and throw it in the wash, you know, douse
At
yourself
first,
in
yeah,
whatever to clean?
when I was in quarantine with my husband, we definitely did that. We were like wiping down all the groceries, and anytime I went out into the world, I came back and took a shower immediately before touching him. Remember, it was just so
Oh yeah.
heightened. And then once we were in season 2, there was a lot more information. We still were very, like, we were cracking down on, the masks and the testing, but I didn't feel like I had to shower or wipe down groceries anymore. I mean, I showered for my own benefit, but not for my husband, or maybe, sure, if for his too. But it was more like work became a safe place to be,
Yeah.
because we knew everyone around us was testing and was fine. And
Yeah. You could
so,
relax a little bit.
yeah, so we could relax, but we also still were tense as
Oh
well
yeah.
while we were shooting, because there was so much uncertainty with what was going to happen in the world.
Yeah.
And so it was a weird time. It was doing art in a pressure cooker is a weird thing, because that is the opposite of art. Really,
That's right.
art is to be free
That's
and
right.
and open and playful, and it felt very constricting, but we did it. And you
Yeah.
can see in season 2, I laugh because I look back at that and I see how frustrated Asta is with Harry. And I do think that some of what was going on at the time was just Sarah's frustration too, like just taking it out on Harry, who's basically just a child, asking her how to teach him things. And I think there was a little bit of some crossover
That's
frustration
pretty
going on.
funny. We don't talk enough. 2021 was not good. I mean, we talk about 2020 all the time, but we were kind of back into things in 2021. But there
Right.
was so many restrictions and things you had to go through. It wasn't a great year.
Yeah, it was hard. I will say, my husband and I got married that year, so that was cool. But
Okay,
like,
maybe it was a good year.
yeah, right. But it was still hard for a lot of reasons. I mean, even at our wedding, our fathers couldn't be there because they were both dealing with cancer treatments,
Yeah,
and, like, they were high alert, could not be
yeah, you got to be
near
super
anyone.
careful.
And luckily for us, they are both still with us, and both are in remission, which is
Oh,
amazing. The
that's
odds of
awesome.
that
That's great.
are incredible. But we were, besides shooting the show in COVID protocol, we were going through a lot of personal stuff at home too. So 2021, you're right. It was a
It was
doozy.
tough. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was tough. We had 3 grandbabies that came in early 2020, and
Oh,
they all the kids lived close to us, but we couldn't see them the first few months. We'd like go to the door, and see them through a screen door that way for the first couple months, because we were in quarantine. So that kind of sucked, although we've made up for it since then. But it
right.
was a rough spring and summer.
Yeah, but still not being able to hold your grandbabies
Oh, it
right
was
out
awful.
the gate, like that is hard. I'm glad that you've had time to,
Oh yeah,
they don't
yeah.
remember not seeing you
No,
because
that's
they
right.
were so young, but you will always remember that. And I hate that that has to be part of your story, but I'm sure it was all
We've
for
made up
a
for lost
reason.
time.
That's right.
We made up for lost time. Did you have a show that you binged when you were in quarantine?
Oh my gosh. Great question. Yes, many shows, to the point where I'm like, they all sort of blur together for sure. We love a good reality competition.
Oh yeah.
So we watched plenty of Love Island, Love is Blind, Marriage at First Sight. I mean, I think
Yeah.
we've seen them all.
We
We've
had
just
some of that
been,
playing. Yeah.
it's like never ending story when she says to Sebastian, like, they were with you in the bookstore, and they were with you in the alleyway, and they were with you in the garbage can. Honestly, all those people who like experimented with their love lives, we were with you in the living room. We were with you in
We were
quarantine.
cheering them on.
They were our friends. We were like front row to their lives. It was wild. I think we also went down the Twin Peaks
Oh,
return,
we did that
like
too when it came back out. You were
it came
watching it
back
from the
out,
beginning.
and we were like, let's watch it all over
Yeah.
again. We're big Twin Peaks fans. So I think we had our hands full with that. I think there was definitely movies. I couldn't tell you. I feel like TJ has a list somewhere of all the
Yeah.
things we watched, but
We
yeah, a
were
lot of reality
we
competition.
did you
And
watch, like for us, we watched Schitt's Creek because we hadn't watched it yet. That was
you
awesome.
know,
And
I
Community.
haven't seen that yet. I
Oh my
honestly,
gosh.
I've heard so many good things,
Yeah.
but when Schitt's Creek came out, I remember watching the first couple of episodes, and then something happened and I wasn't able to finish. And there's so much content out there. I think you just get so distracted.
Oh
You're
yeah,
just
there's a
like,
ton.
you know, and I remember it wasn't until like season 4 came out that
Yeah.
people were like, if you're not watching this show, you should be watching this show. And I was like, oh, right. Like, I felt so bad because I was like, wait, I went
Mhm.
on that journey and I still haven't gone back to pick it up.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
worth
no
it.
fault. I love some of those actors in that show. You know
Yeah.
what show I just watched, though, that I absolutely love? I think it's Dan Levy hosted.
Oh, was it
Um,
good? Was it
the
the travel
breakfast show
show?
or the brunch show.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so good. You know what is so great about it too is he and his team of judges are such like good, warm people,
Yeah.
and they created this really safe environment for this competition in a way that it's not to say that I haven't seen other hosts and teams do that, but there was something about that brunch show where I
Yeah.
was like, wow, they are really all bonding, and there's a lot of love in this room, and it was so fun to watch, and it was
Yeah.
such a fun, like, who doesn't love brunch? Anyway, I see.
Brunch is the best.
I did not used to be a reality TV show watcher, but my husband is a bad influence,
Yeah.
and
Survivor.
but
We're a Survivor family. We've been watching that for 20 years.
oh, see, that's one I've never seen. I have not gone down that rabbit hole because it's too long. It's
It's
too long.
long. Yeah, it's a commitment.
It's like Lost, and I did that one summer. I went down the Lost rabbit hole in a matter of 3 months. I watched all of those seasons. I remember having like 14-hour days. It was like being on set, but really in my living room, just watching Lost episode after episode.
We had Nestor Carbonell came on the show that was on, he was on Lost. And I asked him, what the heck was the ending? What's that mean? And he gave me like a 10-minute explanation. And it was so complicated, I can't remember any of it. Like I'd have
You
to ask
know,
him again.
I have to say, and this may be controversial to a lot of people out there, because I've heard a lot of people hate the ending, but I
Yeah.
loved it. And
See, I liked it too.
I really did. I know that there was some discrepancy out there. There's a lot of people that say the writers didn't know what they were doing. And maybe that's true to a certain extent. Maybe they only knew up to a certain point. But I really saw where they took it and what
Yeah.
their hope was by the end. And I fell hook, line, and sinker all the way through into that. There were
Well, you
definitely
watched it the
moments in
right
the
way.
I
Binging
think
it
so
the
too.
right
I
way.
think that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think I took a binge journey that helped me keep all the pieces together. It wasn't as confusing for me because I wasn't taking long breaks in between seasons. I just was like straight through, and there was definitely things that were like okay, they didn't fill that hole in, or they never answered that question. But I kind of like that. I like that there are
Yeah.
certain mysteries to the island that are unanswered and unanswerable. And I liked that everyone had, honestly, I think a show that causes that much conversation is a win. It's a
I
win. If
agree.
people, if people are like, I don't believe it, or I don't agree, or I hated it, at least they watched it and they also felt something. And I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I worked with Damon Lindelof in The Leftovers. I played the cave woman
Love
at
the
the top.
leftovers. Leftovers was one of those shows that you could only watch one episode at a time because it was so heavy. You had to
Yeah,
take a break. But I loved
same.
it. Love that show.
I'm with you. I got an opportunity to, chat with Damon and work with him on that show because I was playing the cave woman at the very top of season
Mm-hmm.
2. And there was also similar discrepancies from the fans about that opening sequence
Yeah.
because it was never really explained. But Damon explained it to me like the overture of a musical. And
Well,
he
I like that.
said, yeah, he was like, it is a reminder that this has been happening for centuries. And it's a metaphor of how it can start from the very beginning and still go all the way through to where we are in modern day. And it was this overture as a reminder to like, this is how long this has been going on. And I feel like knowing that that's how he felt about that opener, it gave me a lot of respect and also understanding as to how he wrote Lost and had, and a lot of it was metaphor, a lot of it was metaphor for life and death. And, I think he's wonderful. I would work with him again in a heartbeat. And I had so much fun on that show.
Yeah, he's pretty brilliant.
Yeah.
You were very good. You were very believable as Cave Woman.
Thank you. One of my first big roles. That definitely changed the trajectory of my career.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
If you liked Lost, some of those same writers are putting out a show now called From. It's on Epics.
From, like FROM.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. And it's got some of the people from Lost on it, and most of them are newer cast. And you like horror too, so it's creepy, it's weird, it's just nothing but mysteries. Like the second season just came out, and it feels like we're further away from finding out what's going on. You check that one.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna check it out. Thank you.
Yeah,
right after I watch Schitt's Creek, because I have a lot of catching up.
You got to watch Schitt's Creek. And Schitt's Creek's one. It's like, because when it first came out, I tried it. I watched one episode and I was like, these people are terrible. I don't like it. So I gave up. But then everybody kept saying it was so great. So we tried it again. And by the second episode, I was like, I love these people so much. It just, you got to get through the initial, and then it catches.
I don't remember like not liking it, but maybe there's truth to that's why I stopped after a few episodes or something. Yep. Maybe, I mean, I know
gotta hang in there. It pays off.
Yeah, but I've heard that same sentiment and I keep wanting to go back. So I will. And then I'm going to watch From. Thank you for all this. I have, look, I've got a couple months off now, which I'm so excited about.
Well deserved.
Thank you. And I'm, hoping to maybe book some other work in the meantime. But while I'm home, I'm looking forward to doing some charcoal and working on my poetry and doing some writing, but catching up also on a lot of television.
Yeah. What are you writing? I didn't realize you wrote poetry, but are you writing a script or are you working on the poetry?
Yeah, I'm always working on something. It's just that I have so many things I've started. I'm that person, so many scripts I've started. I have books, I have scripts that are plays or films. Right.
Yeah. At some point you probably go back. My son's a writer and I tell him that all the time because he does the same thing. He'll start something 100 pages in, he switches gears to something else. I'm like, hang on to it because you might come back.
My husband's a writer too, and he said, I think it was David Lynch that he quotes that says like, you got to catch that fish. Like, what fish are you catching today? Like that's what it's about. And as a writer, you're constantly swimming through ideas and dreams and content and visions, and you have to write it down and see what you catch that day. And for me, I'm focusing on publishing my poetry book. I've been writing poetry since I was truthfully since I was 11, but like legitimately since I was, in college, since I was 19. I have one that I've put together that I feel really it was so therapeutic to put it together, because it really
Yeah.
just helped me heal from the last 20 years of my life. And now I'm looking for a place to publish it. I could self-publish, but I would really like to take it to a company and have that support. So
Yeah.
I'm going to do, my first order of business is I'm going to start looking at, small publishing companies and reaching out personally and just seeing if there's any interest. So I'm going to spend some time doing that. And then I have this idea for a play. I've had it for a long time, that I kept saying, oh, it'll be a movie, maybe it'll be a play. Whatever it is, I have it written down in various forms, but I think I want to like really kind of come back and start piecing it together. And maybe, while I have this time off, maybe even put it on its feet.
Now's the time.
Yeah. When I've got the time, it's the time.
It's the time. That's right. Well, when you get your poetry book published, you got to come back and read some.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
Love to. That'd be wonderful.
That'd be pretty good.
I was actually thinking it would be, I was asking a friend, Tommy Pico, who is a writer and is also a poet, but he is a writer on our show. And I asked him how he got his start. And he said a lot of it was poetry readings, really just going out there and reading your poetry out loud at poetry readings. And I've always wanted to do that, but I never have. So I'm like, maybe it's time to like branch out.
Take some courage.
Yeah, it does. It's very vulnerable, but I feel like that would maybe be the next step publicly,
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And it give you an idea. Did I actually write something that's good?
Right. Well, what is good, right? Like poetry is all perspective and how you feel in the moment.
The nice thing with poetry is a lot of people won't get it. Whatever you're writing, they may not get it. They may understand it, but they may not get it. But those people that do, that connect with the feeling or what you're trying to go for and stuff, they will absolutely love.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I have poets. Billy Collins is one that I'm just, every time I read any of his poetry, I'm taken somewhere and it makes me feel something. And I think it's really powerful. I think words are really powerful.
So I know you and Meredith have been best friends forever. How did you two meet?
We have forever, for lifetimes. We met in undergrad, and we were both musical theater majors. I think we knew of each other freshman year. We were talking about this the other day. But I don't think we really started becoming friends till sophomore year.
Yeah.
Some of the classes I think we took a class together, and that starts to get, you get to know people in different parts of school. Funny enough, we never did a show together. She helped direct me in a show my senior year, but we never actually acted together. That if we did, I don't think we did. I think that it was always like ships passing in the night. So we were like a part of this, same theater program. But if I'd be working on a play and she'd be working on a musical at the same time, or she'd be working on a play and I'd be working on a musical, we were never in the same stuff. So we were always laughing and saying like, God, I can't wait to work with you. It'd be so great to work with you. And then when we graduated and she went to New York and I went to LA, we kept in touch, mainly because we had a fondness for one another. But it's hard in this industry to have people that you trust. And especially women, there is sort of a cattiness. I feel like women are pitted against each other and are made to be more competitive in order to please, the man. And like that I think is something that has been a bit oppressive for women in especially in this industry. And I feel like when you can find women that you trust as well, you hold on to them. And so we really clung to one another and we helped each other when she would be doing stuff in New York and doubting herself. I'd give her a pep talk. And when I was doing auditions in LA and doubting myself, she'd give me a pep talk and we would just stay in touch. And then we just always said, one day we are finally going to work together. Like we are going to work together. It's gonna happen. One day you'll be in New York, I'll be in LA, and we will finally like
You
make
put
this
it out
happen.
there.
You know, what an epic way to really make the dream come true.
Yeah.
And she was in my living room. She usually comes to LA to do like pilot season auditions, and she was done and she was about to hit the road and do a cross country road trip to get back to New York. And she got one final phone call that day from her manager saying, "We've got one more audition. Can you please stay?" And she was like, "I don't know if I can. The timeline of me getting home, I have to do this other play." And he said, "Okay, well," and she said, "Well, wait, what is it? You know, what is it?
Yeah.
Obviously, I want to know." And he said, "It's Resident Alien." And her face, she's on the phone in this exact living room. She's standing right over there. She's standing right there. And she goes, you know, like she's not saying it, but she's like mouthing it. And I'm like, what? Like, what is it? And she's like, "Okay, yeah, I'll stick around. Sure. Yeah. Yeah." You know? And she gets off the phone and she's like, "Babe, I'm auditioning for your show tomorrow." And I was like, I wanted so badly to be like, "Wah," but I ended up going, "Okay, good, great.
Yeah.
That's
We don't want to get
great."
too excited too soon.
Like I was like, great, sure. Yes, let's look at this audition. Like, come on, girl. Like, and when we read it, she was perfect for the part. I said, "Oh my God." I again trying not to get too excited. "Mare, I really think this is you. Like, I really think this is this is meant for you." And she ended up having an audition that day, then like 2 more auditions on the road, callbacks while she was driving from state to state. And she finally called me. I think she was at a hotel, almost home back to New York, when she called and said, "I got the part." And that was when we just erupted in tears and laughter. And I remember afterwards we sent each other emojis. I've got to go find that. I think I took a screenshot of it, but there is just like emoji after emoji. It's just pages of emojis. Just like,
well, they made the right choice. I mean, I couldn't imagine anybody else in that.
I know, I agree. I
And
think
she was so funny this season. Like her and her husband
so
on the show.
funny.
Oh my gosh, they were
She's so
killing me.
charming. And I think you're also gonna love her work season 3. She's really diving deep into vulnerability and tenderness. And you're gonna really get to see what she can do, what she's capable of as a well-rounded artist. And I just am so excited for her. And I just love that we're on the show together. It's so nice to be able to look across the room at, you know, at a lot of people now I consider family, but to know that she really is, like, she's my sister. And I'm looking across the room like, "Oh, hey girl." Like, "How was your work day?" And we still haven't had really like a legit, like a just her and I, a legitimate scene together. We have that work and girls night from season 2 where we got to dance together and we got to walk down the streets of Lady Smith, which was like slow motion. That was like such a beautiful memory we will always share. But we haven't had a chance to have like a juicy scene together. And
well,
I
she
just
doesn't know that there's an
out.
alien yet.
No, she doesn't. Well, you know, I feel like how can we keep this a secret? At some point, you know, like, is it going to come out? And will she know? And is that how we'll bond? Or will it be that she never knows, but maybe we'll bond? Maybe somehow we'll keep it under wraps, but like we'll bond because of, I don't know, children. Like, I've got a daughter, she's got a son. Maybe we'll come together. I don't know. I just feel like it hasn't happened yet, and I'm waiting for it to happen.
It was a very surprising cliffhanger at the end.
Yeah. Of course, Darcy, right? Darcy just being like, "Yeah, whatever. That explains a lot," you know.
She was just happy to know what was going on.
She was just so happy to just be like, "I'm glad you don't hate me," and we reunite. Oh, Darcy and I got to do so much good work this season because as you know, at the end of season 2, we decided to move in together, and so we got to have a lot of really fun moments in our new apartment, like hanging out and and dealing with stuff that's going on with Harry now that she's aware. She's basically like Asta was season 1, but it's like all over again. And I'm now sitting back going, I tried to tell you, like, I've been there. Yeah, been there. It's not a surprise. So it was so fun.
When do you go back for the new season?
What do you mean? Oh, we just finished shooting that.
Oh yeah, 3. Right. That's right. When does it air? I guess. Or is that going to come out this fall?
There's nothing official yet, but I think they wanted to air it in the summer, but last I heard it might be pushed back to the fall.
It's not terrible either way.
No, yeah, I think it's going to be somewhere somewhere between summer and fall is my guess, because we're still just finishing and post-production and getting it on its feet. I also think numbers wise, in the summertime, people are out and about and they're not watching as much television. So I think they wanted to kind of wait until things calm down a bit to get back on air. Right. But again, I'm not that person. I don't make those calls, but that was sort of a little bit of the rumor mill, like, running around.
I mean, if you need it out earlier, I can call some people.
Thank you. I'd love to see it, but I believe everything is in its own right timing. So I'm sure
there's a podcast guy on the phone that says we need Resident Aliens new season to come out sooner.
Exactly. Michael Wall is on the phone for you. Yeah, that's right. You heard it.
He's not happy.
He's not happy.
He just ran a marathon. He's very cranky.
Give him some water, give him some snacks, and give him Resident Alien.
Your character finally got a little bit of progress with her daughter, which was nice. That was stressing me out.
Yeah. It was stressing me out too. I think in a world that is like, let's say we could actually dive in and be there, I feel like it would have taken longer maybe for her to forgive me, because it's TV. We have the magic of time sort of being condensed and sped up. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that she gives me some hope and a real shot at the end, because I kind of feel like Asta can't move forward until she has closure there. And she finally got that, that last little bit where she finally just says to her, I love you. Do what you want with that, but I love you and I'll always be here for you, was such a wonderful scene and great writing, and also just a great moment of closure. No matter what happened, she was like, I can walk away knowing I did my job. I did what I came here to do, which is to tell her and assure her that I'll be there for her. And there was actually a scriptie on set who was sharing with me that she had similar experiences in her lifetime, and she didn't get to have that kind of conversation, and a lot of people don't. And I think it was really meaningful. I've heard from a lot of people who have dealt with not having a relationship with their parents, or being adopted, or having, situations where they felt sort of disconnected. Feeling a lot of hope seeing us be able to play that out on TV and have some real closure.
Yeah, it was actually really well done, and she's a really good actress. She does a good. I like her as an actress because she like the emotions that come across her face. Mm-hmm. You believe them. I mean, they're very similar to what you think would happen if that was actually happening.
Completely agree. Kayla is very calm. Her energy is so grounded. Yeah. I think she was like 16 when we did the pilot. And even then she was so mature, and I think it was like her first big gig. And I've seen her grow up, just being with her just the other day on set, like, I do feel like we're connected. I do feel like she's my daughter, a little bit. Like, I have a respect and admiration for her, and I have a sense of pride because she is so mature and so grounded and so good at her work. I'm just like, there she goes. That's my daughter.
One of the last shows that we got to watch as a family back when we've got 4 children, and they were all back when they were all at home. Was
Wow.
Once Upon a Time. Right, we watched as a family the whole series.
Nice.
Kids absolutely loved it, but they really liked your Tiger Lily.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a pretty fun storyline because what, Once Upon a Time, what they did well was taking these stories that we know and taking them to the moon. Like, it was like the character did what? The character went where? The character's mother and sister is who? Like, they just went wild with all the possibilities. It could have gone anywhere. And the fact that Tiger Lily was a fairy, and was that is her truest nature, I thought was so much fun. Was like,
we enjoyed that too.
I would have never thought that, and I just thought that was a really fun way to explore that character, to explore that world. I will say I had a hard time shooting that wand and not making sounds when I did it. Like, I would put it out there and I would go pew.
Yeah, I would too.
And the producer kept coming up to me and being like, so we make those sounds in post? You don't actually have to make the sounds of the wand. And I was like, I didn't know I was doing that. I just was in it. I was just in it, like total imagination, like childlike heart imagination, It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
I think I would have left them in.
Right?
What's she doing?
Right? Like, I was always doing them really quiet, but I was just like, because I needed to stop her. That was my thought, was like, she's across the room. She doesn't know to stop because it's not an actual thing coming out of my wand.
You gotta give her a warning.
She's got to hear me, But that's so funny. I'll always remember that. That and those big costumes are so regal and royal that every time you get on set, one of the producers said, all right, now get it out. Do your walk, do your thing, get it out of your system, because you got to act like it's just regular day wear. Like, you got to, you can't be. And I remember them saying, everybody does it. Everybody, the first take, they all like walk like royal, or what they think. I don't know. It happens every time when you get dressed up in those costumes, and then you finally kind of go, oh, right. This is just like her everyday wear,
I never thought of that, but that makes perfect sense. Because when you dress up, you tend to walk a little different.
Yes, every single person. Yeah. So it was nice because that particular producer was making me feel like you're not alone. You're not the first.
You're not the only.
This happens every time.
We're going to help you out.
I feel like the producers were really helping me out there. I really appreciated that. They had my back. They were very lovely.
I loved you making an appearance on The Sun.
Yes.
Big fan of that show.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I thought it was really good, but it was nice seeing you on there.
I was always hoping that I would have the chance to have revenge. That was my moment.
Me too.
And I was hoping maybe I would get away with some other cameo part at the end of the series. I think they weren't sure which way they wanted it to go in terms of their storyline. And I was just a bit part, but I was so grateful to be able to not only be on that set, but to be able to shoot Pierce Brosnan was amazing. I was a big fan, and he was so kind. And he checked on me at one point, because when I had to do the sequence where I was actually pointing a gun at him, and this was obviously before we had some trouble with guns on set. I mean, we've had trouble in the past, with The Crow and other shows and movies, but obviously recently, there in light of the things that have happened, there was, obviously there was a lot of safety going on, but I remember we had to talk that out, like, hey, okay, I'm going to point it at you now, and this is what's happening. But what happened was they did the effects where the blood goes, like the gun goes off, but then the blood happens. But they forgot to put up like shields around the
Oh,
blood, and the blood got on me.
oh
And
yeah, I could see where that
that would
might be
have been really
upsetting.
cool. That would have been really cool, except continuity is something you have to think about when you're filming, and I can't be having blood on me if we have to do this again.
Right.
And they only had one other corset. So it was like, oh no, I had to go into the forest and change into another corset and like redo it. And they were like, don't do that again, because we only have one more outfit. It's wild, the stuff you don't see in those,
Yeah.
I think about it all the time when I'm watching movies. Sometimes I'll be just so into it, and I'll just be like, I get so lost. And then I sometimes go, oh, there is like 100 people behind this camera right now watching
Yep.
this scene unfold. It's wild to think about all of those behind the scenes moments.
My son went to film school for a couple years and loved it, but it kind of messed him up for a little while because
Yeah, I
it took him
get
out
that.
of enjoying movies and TV shows because he was always thinking about what was going on,
Yeah,
outside the scene.
I definitely, my husband and I went down, he's a director, filmmaker, and we went down a rabbit hole once where we had some beloved films that we were like, I remember I loved that movie. I loved it so much growing up. Let's watch that one again. And I won't name names because I don't want to be rude, but there were definitely some disappointing films where we were like, oh, we can see
Yeah.
all the tricks now. We can see all of the mistakes or the continuity stuff or things.
Yep.
You're right. You can't. It's hard to be able to see it with pure virgin eyes, because you're just, I'm so experienced now that I know too much. I know too much.
You look behind the curtain.
And I've seen the man behind the curtain, and he is just not at all what you think. So I will say it makes it harder, but in some ways it also makes it more rewarding for the movies and the TV shows that really do it.
Yeah.
I think, and maybe my other fellow actors would agree, you have a lot more respect and admiration for the shows and movies that really nail it, because you're like, I know what it took for you to get that shot, and you
Yeah.
did, and it was incredible, and everything was right. The costume, the sound, the lighting, the acting. It's why when something like Game of Thrones coffee cup gate happens and you're like, how can this happen? How can they let the coffee cup stay on the table? But it's because there's so much work that goes into it, that for one little coffee cup to be the like thing that like ruins the shot is so
everybody's
heartbreaking.
looking at bigger things.
Of course. And they
you're
were
not
going so
looking for a
fast at
little
that
piece
point.
of paper.
Yeah, they were going so fast at that point that they, whatever. That is a wonderful reminder. To me, the coffee cup of Game of Thrones is a wonderful reminder that no one is perfect. Not a single show or film or director or actor is perfect. In fact, we are all flawed, and sometimes we make mistakes. And that was a giant mistake that, unfortunately just took away from what was going on in the scene, really.
Yeah.
And now it's been taken out and you're never going to see it again, but you'll never forget it either. But those are the kind of mistakes that obviously you learn from. But, I bring it up because it's a great example of like, you can't help but be like, oh man, so much went into that. And it didn't land, it didn't nail the landing.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
it would have to be frustrating after the fact because you do so much work to make it perfect and you're like, coffee cup.
that is like an Olympian, right? Where you're like, when you're watching the Olympics, you can't help it. It's nail biting. And I feel like sometimes when we watch, my husband and I, when we watch TV or film, we just are like nail biting. We're watching them like Olympians, like, please stick the landing. And, when they do, it's so rewarding. And when they don't, we have a lot more respect and compassion than I think, other people can sometimes do, because they don't understand what it takes to get all that.
That's right.
I
A
think
lot of people
sometimes
think acting is just easy, or making films is just easy.
I think there's a
so
lot of
not.
critics Yeah, there's a lot of critics and people who are so quick to put out names and put out you know, bad words about, well, that was awful and that was a disaster and that was horrible. And
Yeah,
it's like, how can we talk about this in a way that's like, you know, they took a swing and it didn't work, but I liked this, or
that's right.
I saw, you know, I wish we could just talk a little bit more about art forms with constructive feedback as opposed to shitting all over it. You know, I
Yeah,
just feel
agreed.
like art and artists are so vulnerable, and they are doing truly divine work. Like
Yeah.
just,
Well, they're putting
it is,
themselves out there.
yes, and in the name of themselves and in the name of others, you know, saying I'm standing up for this group of people or for this type of person, or, you know, when you take on a role of a character, you take on the world that they're in, and that becomes a responsibility that you uphold. And you know, it's not to say that people shouldn't be criticized, but you know, I just feel like people don't realize how much it takes.
Yeah.
You know, I think they think acting, like you said, especially from an actor's perspective, acting is so easy, but there are so many times that you are fully prepared, you know all your lines, you know the sentiment of the scene, and you show up for a day's work and you're told to sit here, do this, land this, here's the light, here's that, here's all these things that you have to think about that have
Right.
nothing to do with the story. They have nothing
Yeah.
to, now
It's
you have
just a
all these other,
distraction.
yeah, you have all this other stuff that you have to do it, and do it all so naturally that you don't even think twice about it. Some of the hardest scenes are easy one line, like you come in the room, you pick up the coffee and you say, good morning, and you leave. That seems like that should be so easy, but actually, some of those scenes are the hardest to do because you don't have as much to like back up story wise.
Right.
It's just supposed to be simple. It's supposed to be natural. But I mean, it's like me telling you, do not think about a yellow bus, and
Yeah.
you are, all
I'm
you can
thinking
do
about
is,
a yellow bus.
I can picture it now, right? All
Yeah.
you're thinking about is yellow bus. And it's like when you go in to have a one-liner like that, it's like, oh yeah, just be simple. Yeah, just be natural. Don't think about it. Don't worry about it. Just whatever. And you can't help but think about 1,000 things. And then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you start to doubt yourself. Like, did I say good morning? Okay. Like it's just, it's so vulnerable.
I mean, part of
The
the
best
reason
time,
people think it's so easy is because
right?
actors, by and large, are so good at what they do. They make it look easy.
Sure. They make it, well, that's, you know, not even just actors, but if you watch anybody, a musician, a
You're
singer,
right.
a painter,
Yeah.
um, even an Olympian, when they do it right, it takes so much skill for
Yeah.
it to look that easy.
That's right.
And it should look easy and it should feel easy. And if you feel like somebody is straining on your television to cry, then something's, or you know, whatever. Like if because you can tell as an audience member, you can
Yeah.
tell when it's not real, when they're not being truthful. And I think it's easy for people to point the finger and go, well, they weren't being truthful, and you know, they're being shitty, they're shitty actors. But what they don't realize is there's so much going on that day that
Yeah.
sometimes you don't get to choose what is aired either. Like there's so many
True.
takes where you're like, oh, I love that take, and then you watch it and you're like, that's the take they use? No, like you can't. There's so much. So I just wish if any mantra out there I can give to anyone who's being a critic of art, please have some compassion. There's much more going on
Knock it
behind the
off.
scenes. Knock it off. Much more
Are
going behind
those
the scenes than you realize.
are those your guitars?
Mm-hmm.
Cameron? I knew you sang. I'm assuming you play
Yeah.
guitar too.
The first, yeah, I do. The first one actually is my husband's grandfather's guitar,
Oh, nice.
that he had for a long time, and then the next one over is my first ever guitar that my dad bought me when he taught me guitar lessons during
Mm.
quarantine. I just learned how to play guitar in the last couple of years because I was not quarantine actually. It was right after my divorce, and I was in a really hard time in my life, and I was having anxiety, and I had this guitar that my ex-husband's mother had given me, and I was sort of plucking at it, and the strings really calmed me. Like, it
Yeah.
was just the vibration. And I remember calling my dad and being like, I don't have the desire to do anything else, but I have the desire to play this guitar. Will you please teach me? It was like survival at that point. I need you to teach me how to play this instrument so I can have something to lean on in this time of grief. And it was wonderful. We bonded, and he bought me that guitar, and it was so great. And now I have this other little one that I travel with. It's like a little baby kid guitar that I like to travel around with, so it's a little bit smaller. But I'm not an advanced student, but I'm definitely like intermediate. I'd say like a
Yeah.
medium level guitar player. I know enough notes, I know enough songs that I can pluck it around and play around with it.
I love that story because it's rarer that as an adult you get that type of time with a parent,
Yeah.
especially when they're teaching you something. I mean,
Yeah.
that's some pretty quality time. That's awesome.
It was hard because we were doing it over FaceTimes, and it's always
Yeah.
easier in person, but I he saw it in my eyes. I just needed it. And he is an amazing teacher, and he is really good at, I think, in another life he would have been a professor. He's a
Yeah.
engineer. He worked for the military for a long time, and really a very incredible businessman. But I think if he had chosen a different route, he would have been an incredible professor, because he's really good as a
Yeah.
tutor, and he's really great at explaining things. And he was so patient and kind, and it made him feel good to teach, and it made me feel good to listen and learn. I was a good student, and now I have that forever. I have that. And especially after finding out that he had cancer and he is in remission, and I have these memories now that I know I'm going to hold on dear. And anytime I pick up the guitar, I'll be able to play because of him, and I'm
Yeah.
just so grateful for that.
What was the first song that you worked on?
Hey Jude.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good
He's
one.
a Beatles fan. He's a
Yeah.
big time Beatles fan. Of course, I got that downloaded into my DNA when I came into the world. So I'm a Beatles fan too. But he thought it would be great to start teaching me a couple of Beatles songs, because in his mind, he thought, if you ever get stuck and you're in a room with a guitar, almost everybody in that room will know a few Beatles songs. Like,
right.
it's just, that's how iconic they are.
Yeah.
And he wanted me to be able to always have something to be able to play so that other people could like sing along, which was really sweet. And because it means something to him. And Hey Jude is also a really great simple song to play. It's only a few notes. And that was really cool to learn. I started learning about these songs, learning which ones were really complicated and which ones were really simple. And so I have a few favorites, and that's one of them for sure.
I love that. My mother was a big Beatles fan, and she had a lot of the albums. So I kind of grew up listening to those albums. And there's a reason they're considered the greatest.
Oh yeah. I mean, just even going down that rabbit hole of trying to learn their songs, it teaches you a lot about them as artists too. And it was a wonderful, I think, honestly, like, my dad is close to retirement, and I think I'm going to encourage him to maybe, I don't know, be a guitar tutor or something. I thought it was really cool. Do you want to learn guitar? Do you want to learn a Beatles song? Like, I just thought it was really,
That's
really
awesome. That's good
rewarding,
parenting.
and I think other people would benefit.
Yeah, you should. You need to encourage him to do that. He'll be looking for something to do once he retires.
I know. And I think that would be so cool to have a few kids in the neighborhood, like, be able to learn guitar too, if they're interested. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna suggest it. We'll see.
I'll cross my fingers. I think that's
Maybe
a good idea.
you too can learn guitar from my dad. We'll see.
Well, I'll tell you what, he will probably quit teaching if he tried to teach me. I'm the most musically uninclined. and it's so funny because my wife, all of her family, the kids, my whole family, I grew up, my grandfather was a Baptist minister. So everybody in the family is musical and played and sang and nothing. I didn't get any of it.
Oh, well, you got amazing interview skills. And so maybe that's what you're.
I will say that I've been carrying around all this useless knowledge for my whole life and thinking, what am I going to do with it? Podcasting. Finally found a use for it.
Hey, and that there's a real like generation now that lives on podcasting, and you are a part of it, and you are good at it, sir. So keep going.
Oh, you're very sweet. Thank you. Thank you. That's the clip I'll be playing over and over. When I'm down and I need a little pick me up, be like, you are good.
Yes.
Sarah said so.
I just got a note from my managers. I'm supposed to be going into a meeting with them. So
we better wrap up. I was getting ready to say that.
Wrap it up. But I've been having so much fun that we haven't even been keeping track of time. So
No. We ran a little long, but you just have to come back so we can
dive. Well, yeah, I'll come back anytime. We can dive deeper and further into.
I need to get you, Meredith, and Alice on all at one time. We'll just have a.
Oh my gosh, we'd love it. We'll have to wait till Mary's in LA, but man, we would definitely love it. Yeah,
that'd be pretty fun. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. This has been the best. I didn't get to mention, but I'll just throw in there real good. We liked you on SWAT, and we liked you on Sneaky Pete too.
Hey,
so, we've been watching you for a while.
Thank you so much. SWAT and Sneaky Pete were a lot of fun. I'll just give you a couple little tidbits before we go, just since we're on them, since we're talking about it.
Okay.
SWAT was an amazing experience to be able to work as a cop, because I had always auditioned for cops but never landed a role of a cop. Like for whatever reason, I was always going out for them. Because I had, I was always kind of going out for like Michelle Rodriguez style roles, very like, kind of tough guy. And that was when I finally got, so it was so fun to finally get to put on the uniform and, and then Sneaky Pete was so much fun. Just that was, we got to talk about this before we started recording, but that was my first experience working in New York. And, what I thought I was going to do out of college was move to New York. And I love the city so much. I decided I don't want to hate the city. I don't want to be here while I'm broke. One day I'm going to come back here because I book a job. And sure enough, I did. And that was Sneaky Pete. And I will never forget that experience. But I will say here and now, I have such respect for New Yorkers, because getting up and going an hour commute on the train to get to work, and then going to work for 12-hour days on set, and then come home and still have to go to the grocery store and still walk all the way back to my apartment. Woo, that is a grind. But it was a lot of fun. I loved working in New York. I would do it again in a heartbeat. And if you haven't seen Sneaky Pete, that's a really fun show.
It's a good show. Yeah, it's really good. So, okay, Sarah, last thing before we wrap up, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram under Sara Tomko 19. And I chose that number not because there's that many Sara Tomkos, but that's my favorite number.
Fair.
And you can find me on Twitter, actress Sara Tomko, but the last S of actress is the first S of my name. Okay.
Fancy.
Fancy, because it just felt weird to have 3 S's. Okay, so it's
it would look weird too.
It's like actress Sara Tomko.
I kind of like that.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think those are the only things I'm on. I have not even chosen to dive into TikTok. Alice just sends me TikToks. That's as close as I get. I maybe as I'll ever get. I like watching them though. Please, if you're a TikToker out there, you're killing it. Thank you.
We'll get the 4 of us on a podcast and we'll try to do TikTok dances.
Yes, perfect. I love it when other people are in charge of that, because I don't even.
There's no way you guys will embarrass yourself if I'm on there.
Right.
You'll be fine. Right. All right, Sarah, hold on one second. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So happy that we got to do that one. I'm such a fan of Sarah's, and those that have been watching the show for a while have seen Meredith and Alice from Resident Alien have been on the podcast before. We're going to post Meredith's second interview in about a week. So you can kind of keep an eye out for that. But I've heard so many good things about Sara. I absolutely cannot wait to talk to her. And she's been terrific working with me, but we've been working on this one for several months to get her on the show. So I'm super happy that she was able to do that, which is part of the reason I think that we ran a little long. And that's my fault. Poor podcasting skills there. I should do better with the time, but it was such a good conversation. You can probably tell I've been fighting some stuff down in my chest. It is driving me crazy. It has kept me off of running for the last several days, and I'm starting to feel better, but I still have that little. So apologies that my voice isn't good on a good day, but when when it's tight, it's a little rough. So Sara, she's never talked to me before. She probably didn't realize it, but I know you guys listening probably picked up on that. So apologies, but I definitely was not going to miss that interview. Been looking forward to that for a long time. If you're a fan of Sara's or a fan of Resident Alien, please make sure, we've had a Meredith, Alice on. We're having more from the cast come on. So if you're a fan of Resident Alien, please check those interviews out. They're all terrific. That is such a great show. So happy that I got a chance to talk to Sara about it. Really enjoyed that. If you're finding us for the first time, or if you're returning, but you liked what you listened to or what you saw, we could definitely use your support, and it's real easy to do. It's free. If you prefer to watch, it's MeisterCon, or it's YouTube MeisterCon Pod. Just hit subscribe. It's free. Really helps us out. If you're listening, wherever you're listening to your podcast at, just subscribe there. That'll help us as well. We are barreling toward our 600th episode. We posted number 571 today. You can find all of those audio and video on our website, meistercon.com. So definitely check us out there. The one thing I didn't get to talk to Sara about that I wanted to bring up is she had a role in a movie called Pandemic back in 2016 or 17. I wanted to ask her what that was like, being in a movie about a pandemic and then going through an actual pandemic. But we'll hit that one when she comes back. Thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.